Hey, everybody out there in Cryptid Land. Me and my buddy Dirty over there want to thank you for coming with us tonight. We got a great interview with Bryan Stone, paranormal investigator, who had a really scary encounter in the woods of North Carolina at the Devil's Tramping Grounds, which the name just sends chills up my back hearing it. And he's not sure if it was a skinwalker or a Bigfoot, but we're going to discuss it. And we do some ghost talk too. So join us tonight on
Cryptid Quest Podcast.
Hey, everybody out there in Cryptid Land. Me and my buddy Dirty over there have a really cool guest tonight, Bryan Stone. He's got a really amazing story to tell us. And Bryan, I think from what I've heard, you're a paranormal investigator. Can you tell us
Yes.
more about that?
I started my group about Century Hills Paranormal about 4 years ago. About 4 years ago. And I wasn't really planning on like the big investigations at all. And then the more people I got in it, like some of the members I have in Ohio and everything, and then Virginia and some around here, it just started doing investigations. And I really enjoyed most people that I've met in the paranormal community
Yeah,
as investigators.
that's cool. So I know you got an encounter at the Devil's Tramping Grounds,
Yes,
but but I was going to say,
the
but
Devil's Tramping Ground's a weird spot.
yeah, well, from what you wrote me, yeah, it seems like it. You want to talk about any other cool paranormal investigations you've been on before we get into that?
Um, I would say St. Albans Sanatorium was real interesting. It um it was me, my wife, Brent Stevens, and Jackie from Virginia was um, at St. Albans, and it's a definitely a different feeling up in the boiler room area, which I'm sure you've heard about the boiler room.
Yeah.
Um, Now that one we got an EVP. Brent thought he heard my voice behind him, and so I simply asked. I said, "Red, was that you?" And I had the recording on my phone. As soon as I said it, it said yes. And I'm wanting to say it was the boys' ward in St. Albans. I was standing in the doorway, and my wife was down one side of the hall, and Brent and Jackie was down the other side. And I had something grab my shoulder and pull me back. And your first instinct, I got caught on the door frame or something like that,
Yeah.
until you realize where you were standing, and there wasn't nothing on the doorway to get a hold of my shoulder like it did. So St. Albans, it was definitely interesting. Uh, the old hospital on College Hill was a good location too in West Virginia. That one, the basement area, I would say probably is the most active there because I tried to sleep in the incinerator room, and it still has human ashes in it. That's why I wanted to sleep there.
Holy cow.
And there wasn't anybody on the investigation that I could get to go back into the basement area, period, after our initial walkthrough. They just said it because all of them I took was like all of them was either mediums or something like that. Now said the feeling just wasn't good down there. But as if anything feeling bad like at old hospital, I wouldn't say so. Definitely a very energized location though.
I got you.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can when you get in them spots like that, you can kind of feel it. You
Yeah.
know what you're getting into or what you don't know what you're getting into. Kind of sneaks up on you at times.
We do have Indiana State Sanatorium coming up in March.
Ooh,
Yeah,
oh
me and Chris and them um was going to go back January 9th, but the snowstorm up that way. They Chris wanted to reschedule it and I was like, well, that's fine with me because I got a 10-hour drive from North Carolina.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I've often heard though that like severe weather a lot of times will ramp up activity. Is that?
Yes, and St. Albans proved that because it was nice weather when we got there, and about midnight it started storming, and that's when everything started happening.
Yeah. It's like as an extra, maybe the electricity in the air gives them more
That's
energy to
what they
pull
say.
from.
Yeah, the electricity in the air. Thunderstorms do tend to help a whole lot. It really does.
Yeah, that's cool. So and you said it's a sanitarium. The next one you're going to?
Yeah, Indiana State
Indiana's.
Sanitarium.
Oh man,
It's
that
in
would be scary.
it's in Rockville, Indiana.
Okay, man, oh
I
man.
had the first time it was ever investigated that I know of was Destination Fear.
Oh, okay.
Alex took them there, and I've been wanting to go. And we was originally going to Sweet Springs, and then I'm sure you've seen what's going on with them not being able to do, and that's caused the owner and his estate and everything. So I looked at Indiana State Sanatorium. I'm like, well, let me see that, and the price for it, you can't pass it up.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's only 400 to book the whole location from 5 p.m. till noon the next day,
Oh wow.
and it's going to work out good because in March, in the Midwest, I've lived there. In March, the weather is not too hot, but it's not cold.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll be able to sleep in the tunnels like I wanted to. So that'll be a good thing.
Man, you got bigger cojones than I do. I don't know that I'd want to sleep in a sanitarium overnight.
But my family, my wife, she don't, but everybody else, family and friends are like, "Are you crazy for wanting to sleep in there?" I'm like, "Well, I go for the experience. I'm able to get the full experience while I'm there."
Yeah, yeah, I guess so.
But I just got to replace some equipment because I've misplaced like $200 worth of equipment I cannot find after the Devil's Tramping Grounds investigation.
Oh no!
I got camcorders, REM pods, voice recorders, a bunch of stuff I just cannot find.
Just kind of up and left you, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's ever since going there, that's when I feel more uneasy in my house now. Since going there and making the mistake of bringing a rock home for my daughter.
Oh,
Yeah, I know better. And I even
yeah.
said, I even saged it and everything when I got home. And I was like, okay, I'll take it back down there. I contacted the owner because it's like a 30-minute drive for me. Cannot find the rock now. The rock is just mysteriously gone.
Oh wow. Well, that's kind of
Yeah.
crazy coincidence right there.
Yes, it is. And people are like, well, how do deal with it at home? I'm like, as long as, the footsteps and everything don't really bother me. Now, when I say footsteps, it's like you can feel them in the bed in my home. You're like
Yeah.
walking through the hall and you can feel it in my bed, moving the bed frame.
So stuff like that, because I lived in what I would call a house that was active, but when
Hmm.
stuff like that happens, you kind of get used to it.
Exactly. Yeah, you get used to it. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't, at first, it catches you off guard. And then,
yeah. Uh huh. Yeah, yeah. So, man, I really want to get into this devil's tramping ground, man.
Yeah.
I read your message, and I am just like tingling with excitement because I've got some theories on it, but of course, just theories. But I want to let you tell the whole story. Um, I might interject with some questions here and there,
Hmm.
but and then I want to get your take on it, and then we'll kind of collaborate a little bit.
Okay.
So, if you would, the stage is yours.
So it was, I'm thinking it was May or June last year. Me and a member of my team went to Devil's Tramping Grounds for overnight, and he is ex-military. So we got there I got there a little before 3 p.m. before he did. I did the walk around, just getting the layout of the land, like where the trails are and everything. I probably walked a good, because there's probably 10 miles of trails. So I probably walked a mile or so before he called me. He said he was there. So I went down to the car, met him. We brought everything up, set up camp, with the tent and everything right outside the circle because you can't sleep in the circle.
So
We decided,
I'm gonna hold you right
yeah,
there. When you say circle, can you explain what you mean by circle?
yes, the circle is a 40-foot perfect circle in diameter, and nothing grows inside that circle.
Okay.
They've done soil tests and everything, and grass, nothing will grow in that circle.
Huh. That's very strange.
And that's one reason I wanted to go. I'm like, well, let me see, how, because when you hear the circle, you're like, okay, it's just a circle. And you get there and it's a 40-foot diameter circle. That's a big
That's a
circle.
big circle. Yeah.
And their only rule is they don't want you putting your tent in the circle because a lot of people say whatever they put in the circle when they wake up in the morning is on the outside of the circle.
Wow.
And I know some people that have went there before me and they said that it happened. I didn't test that because I'm not going to go against their rules. They don't want me to
Mm-hmm.
do it. I'm not going to do it. But it's definitely whenever you step even inside the perimeter of that 40-foot circle, the whole energy does change. You feel a change in the energy. Like your hairs kind of stand up on the back of your neck. Feel electrified. I would say, yeah. But I mean, it was probably once he got there and we set up camp. It was probably around 5 to 6 p.m. So we decided to do. He wanted to go walk. So we're going down the trail. Now, at first, when I went down, I had no problem. We're going down about 50 yards or so on the first trail. There's a thing of 3 trees, like a perfect triangle of 3 trees. All of them have a black burn about the same height on each tree. And when I tried to walk through them going back, I couldn't physically make myself walk in between the trees to go through. I had to go around them. I tried for a good 15 to 20 minutes, and I just couldn't physically walk in between them trees straight on the path.
So was there something just inside your body like telling you don't go, or was
Yeah, it's like
it?
I would get right close to it, and like something in my body was like just back up. So I would literally just back up and stand there. Now he walked through just fine,
Huh.
but when I got right there, I physically could not walk in between because I would get right there at him and start, and I would just have to stop because it was like my body saying, "No, don't do it." Um, and it might have been I didn't think about it till just now. Honestly, I was wearing my cross necklace that my granddad gave me before he passed away.
Oh
That
wow.
could have had something to do with it.
It could have, yeah, for
I
sure.
didn't. I just thought about that when I was looking at my jewelry just now. I was like, "That's what I was wearing." Because I wear that on most of my investigations.
Okay. Well, that's smart.
Let's see. So once we got past that, we walked down, like I said, in the story I sent you, a good mile and a half, 2 miles to a heavily wooded area. But in between the camp and there, like all animal noises went silent. There wasn't any animal noises in the woods, which I spend a lot of time in the woods. So it's supposed to be the normal noises you would hear in the woods. And
100%.
so we're walking about, like I said, about a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles down into the woods, and we get off on this little side trail coming back up towards the camp. We're like, okay, well, this way, we'll go back to the left and go back up the trail. Well, he stops and he's looking at something on the ground, and as I'm feeling uneasy in the woods the whole time, he's looking at something on the ground, picks it up, and it's a little child's yellow rain boot. Like maybe something like a 4 or 5-year-old be wearing this one boot out in the middle of the woods that had been there. I mean, it had been there a long time.
Was it on a path or just in the woods?
It was right off the path, about 20 yards off the path.
Okay.
And the best way I can describe the boot, the movie It, the boots that Pennywise,
Yes.
and Georgie had on,
Yes.
those yellow rain boots. That's the kind it was, but just a lot smaller.
That's creepy in both ways.
That's when everything got creepy. He was like, he's picking it up, and I was like, just put it down, leave it alone. And so really, after that boot was found, that's I think that's when like everything started getting creepier and creepier because the whole walk back, you just felt like something was watching you from behind you constantly. So you walk a couple feet and turn like that and look, and it seemed like something was watching. And I mean, I still had that boot like perfectly memorized in my head to the size of it, probably like a size 4 in U size, so real small. So, so after probably about another 45 minutes or so, we get back to camp, and we decided it's time to go ahead and make the fire pits, so we ain't trying to get wood at night. So we go off. I go off about 15 yards into the woods off the trail, so I'm not messing up the trail. Get some stuff, bring it back. We get the fire going. We sit down for probably 20, 30 minutes, eat a couple of sandwiches, relax a little bit, talk about what we're going to do throughout the night. So we decided that we was going to do an investigation around the circle first, when the first trail, when you come up where the main circle is. So we decided we was going to I had a music REM pod down closer to the road area coming up the trail to get there. And then we had REM pods and laser grids in the circle and some closer to the camp area. And we decided to do, I'm sure you've heard of the Estes method.
Yeah.
Well, he decided that he wanted to go into the circle and do it first. I thought, okay. And so he went in there, he laid down in the circle, because you can go in the circle, like, so you just can't sleep in the circle. And really wasn't nothing happening too much at first when he went in there. So we took a brief pause to try something different. We decided, he had a big speaker out there, and we decided to put like some tribal chants on the speaker while he was in the circle. That changed everything. I would ask questions like, how many of you are here? And I would get, and like he would get, about 2 seconds later, he would say like 5. He said 15 at one time. He was answering perfectly. And then I noticed he sat up in the circle, like just sat straight up. And so I asked one more question about, how did I word it? Something to the lines of like, "Are we safe here?" And he screamed as loud as he could and said, "Get out!" So I made him, get the. I took the headphones off of him. I told him, what was going on. We played the recordings back, and there's nothing there other than just me and him talking. So he wanted me to go in the circle out there a brief period. And now this guy, being ex-military, certain things can set them off real easy. So you got to be careful. So I go in the circle, and I'm not sure what he was asking, because the recorder didn't record the whole session with just a blank spot. It was recording, but there was no audio on it. And I was getting responses like, "You're not safe," "Chief," stuff you would think like Indian Native Americans would say, like "Chief," and the music and everything was amplifying it. Well, all of a sudden, you're laying there blindfold, you can't see or hear nothing. Somebody grabs me, so it scares me, of course. It was him telling me I need to get out the circle, that he wasn't feeling right. So when he said that, I'm like, okay, I've dealt with this before with him. If he ain't feeling right, that means his mental stability is not right on. So I look at him, and you can see in his eyes something was wrong. So I started talking to him, and he said that he had the overwhelming feeling while I was doing my Estes method to hurt me. That's when we tried to play the recording back, but like I said, it was a complete blank spot. There was nothing there, no audio of any kind. So at that point, I'm like, okay, it's time to really take a break and figure out what our next move is. Let him get himself together. So we probably sat there. Probably it's about 10 o'clock now, maybe 10 p.m. maybe. So about 10:30, 11 p.m. The fire started getting low. I was like, I'm gonna go get some more firewood. You want to come with me? And he's like, no, I don't feel safe going in the woods right now. He's like, are you okay to come? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, here's the walkie-talkie. If anything happens, call me, and I'll call you if I need you. So I'm probably 30 to 40, maybe 50 yards off the trail. down into the woods, and my walkie-talkie goes off, and it's him. He was screaming, telling me I need to get back up there. So I dropped the wood that I have, and I turned around. And keep in mind, I can't run that fast, right? Especially then or next. I just had my foot surgery. So I got back as fast as I could, and he was down at the cars. He done run the 35 yards down to the car beside the road. And I couldn't have talking to him. He's throwing stuff in the car. He's done grabbed everything he could quick. He's throwing it in the car. I'm like, well, what's going on? And he said that as soon as I got off the path, which I thought it was him that I heard, once I started on the path, he heard loud footsteps right around our camp. He said, me, I'm thinking the footsteps that I had heard behind me was him also just moving at the camp. But it wasn't. It was something that he heard. So I was like, okay. I was like, well, let's go up here and get the rest of the stuff and pack it up. He said, I'm not going back up there. I said, okay. So I go up there and get the bigger stuff at first that I can. And that trip was fine. I get like the tent down. I take it to the car. And I knew I had a couple pieces of equipment left. And he had lost his wallet up there somewhere. Now you're looking for a black wallet in the woods at night. It's kind of hard to find. So I'm walking back up there and I go right past the circle. I get about from, I say about a dining room table is linked from the circle. And I look up, because I'm hearing movement in the woods straight in front of me. So I'm looking up, I don't see nothing at first. So I'm walking up real softly, real slowly, and I hear the movements again. So I shine my flashlight, and when it hits it, it's about at least 7 foot tall black figure standing there with his eyes glowing, staring at me. So your first instinct, you're just going to stop what you're doing, just stand there and be silent. I stand there, and when I would try to move, like to get some stuff left or right, it would step with me. Like it was telling me, like, you're not welcome, you need to get out of here. So I found my pieces of equipment, and luckily, thank goodness, I'm sitting there holding my flashlight, and I had my phone too, in case he called me or something. He found his wallet in the car, luckily. So I got the pieces of equipment, and I have never backed out of somewhere so slow, keeping my head fixed on. I mean, I was just like this with the flashlight the whole time, just looking. It never come at me, but it would step over left and right, and it would block the path where you would walk to get the wood and everything. So, sorry.
You're fine.
So I backed all the way down to the car, just never taking my eyes off of it. Loaded it. He's loading it. I'm still looking up the trail with the flashlight because I wasn't going to take my eye because I did not know what it was. We end up leaving, and we get down probably 10 miles to the next convenience store, somewhere to stop. And I have these right here on this right shoulder. I had 3 scratches right below the shoulder blade. It didn't hurt or anything. And I didn't even know it. I went to change out of the shirt I had on because it had got dirty, and my friend with me noticed it. Now, whatever it was, I have a couple of theories on it. The first thing he went to, his theory has been to this day, it was a skinwalker, which it could have been, but where I was at, it's hard to really say. When you see a 7.5 foot black mass standing there with glowing red eyes staring at you, all common sense kind of leaves you for a second. You just want to get out of there as fast as you can. But do I plan on going back just to see if I can figure it out? Absolutely. I am going back to try to figure it out. That is for sure. Because I'm not going to leave that big what if and what was that in the back of my mind forever. I'm not doing it.
Oh, I can't. I don't blame you a bit.
But I think it's something to do with the Native Americans there, honestly. I really do.
So when you say the eyes were glowing, were they like self-illuminating, or
yeah, they were like everything was dark. There was no moonlight or anything, and then they was just glowing. Were like you could see it coming out of the eye sockets.
Okay, and you say you saw the black mass. Apparently, it was on 2 feet. I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you make out any kind of detail, or was it just like a shadow?
it was more just like a black shadow. There wasn't much detail to it. It was just blacker than what the dark was that was around it, so it stood
Okay.
out definitely.
Okay.
But I couldn't really make any shoulders or anything out. It was more just like a dark shadow standing there,
Yeah,
which made it even creepier, I believe.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, and probably being up against the wood line, probably took some of the shape away, and it was
Yeah, I think
dark.
so. Yes.
So, and then you said it would step side to side. Was it rocking or was it
It was
stepping?
like it was kind of like it would like shuffle to the right and then shuffle to the left. But the weird thing was you didn't hear no footsteps.
Okay.
So it's kind of like maybe it was like gliding from one side to the other. It wasn't no footsteps at all.
So,
Because it would move probably about 6 to 7 steps one way and then the other way, back and forth. And that's when I was like, I'm just going, whatever's over there, I'll just leave it. Luckily, it wasn't nothing important. And I decided to back out real slow, but you never took my eyes off of it. And the eyes stayed up there in the same area around that
so
main trail because it was on the main trail.
about how far apart were the eyes? Could you really? I mean, it's probably hard to tell exactly, but I mean, were they, like very
I
far
would probably
apart?
say about the size, a little bit further apart than like what a bull's eyes are.
Okay.
Like yeah, so a little wider than what that was. So
Like a
that's probably
large
what a
bull?
good. Yeah,
Man, I got a theory that I think you encountered a Sasquatch personally
I
because
thought that too.
is there a reason? Is it? Do you think later that it wasn't for any reason?
I've
Or
been back and forth, and the more research I've done, that area there has been a lot of Bigfoot sightings in that area. Um, the only thing that defers me from that is there wasn't like a smell like a lot of people talk about.
yeah,
But then again, being out in a big open area and he wasn't like super close, he
actually,
might not smell like what other
actually, the
people do.
smell doesn't get reported as much as you think. I look into a lot of stories. From what I hear, the smell's only apparent in like 10 to 15% of encounters.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, and so it's not as. I mean, you hear about it a lot because people talk about it, you know. But honestly, the smell doesn't get reported all the time. Um, and then I was looking something else up. What was it? Unwari. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. Unwari
Oh yeah,
National
the
Forest.
Aurora.
Okay, there was
Yes, yes,
another.
sir.
This is kind of strange. Another paranormal um, investigator or investigating team was in there, and they have a story almost exactly like yours. They say
Oh
they
wow.
thought they ran into a skinwalker. They said it might have been a Bigfoot, um, and I forget the name of the show. I'd have to look it back up, but it was very similar to your story. I don't know how far that is from the area you're talking about.
It's not very far at all. No, everything like all the national forests around here, they connect to the other ones one way or another. They're all
Okay.
pretty much connected.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up and see if I can't find
Yeah.
out which team
So
that
how I
was.
looked it up was I put are skinwalkers in North Carolina because generally skinwalkers
Or not.
they're not. Yeah, they're
No.
generally around like Arizona, maybe California, southern,
Hmm.
around that area is where they say they're more common at. But this other group, they say they encountered one, but they also say they encountered a Bigfoot on their trip too. Um, it was a show. I just can't remember the name of it, but yeah, you ought to check it out because their store encounter was eerily like just read a little bit of it, but so similar to yours. And I'm like, man, what the hell's going on in North Carolina?
Well, you wouldn't think about North Carolina being having this much activity, but we have the Appalachian Trail that runs through here. We have the Brown Mountain Lights, which has been reported for centuries. Lights on top of the mountain, walking up and down, can't nobody explain.
I've heard about them.
And I didn't know till recently. I run across a show. It's on Discovery Plus. I'll find the name of it and send it to you. This guy is actually from North Carolina, and apparently over towards the Uwharrie National Forest, where we was just talking about, they have chupacabras now. Which
Really?
I did not know that. I was like, well, I gotta watch this episode, and see. So we all know the lady in Texas that has the one mounted supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
That she had when they took the DNA sample from that, and it was Mexican wolf, canine, and there was a third DNA in it. Well, the same week they was filming the show in North Carolina, a farmer had his chicken coop and his pig pens broke into. So they set a trap up and they put a barbed wire around a stick right beside a chicken in a cage. Something ran by the camera. You can see it run by the camera, and it got hit on that barbed wire. It left hair and DNA.
Oh, wow.
They checked it. It was the exact same DNA as the creature in Texas, the Mexican wolf, canine, and the third DNA. And I'm like, we don't have Mexican red wolves in North Carolina. We don't have them.
No.
So that was odd. It's more and more popping up in North Carolina, which is kind of unsettling.
I think a lot of these encounters with cryptids they've been becoming a lot more ramped up everywhere, it seems like, which is kind of unsettling as well.
I think it's because we're taking their natural habitat away from them. We're constantly cutting their trees down and building townhomes and condos, which is horrible.
Yeah. So, man, oh man.
I might have to look up that encounter though with the other team, because if it's on a TV show, I watch about every paranormal kind of TV show with cryptids and everything you can think of.
Yeah, well, I try to too. I'll look it back up after we get off, and I'll send you the thing that I was talking about.
Do that.
So, so you're planning on going back out there, huh?
Oh yes, sir.
All
I just
right.
got to find people I can trust to go out there and be able to last the entire night, because you have it, all night until the next morning. You have the whole wooded area, and some people I know that are paranormal investigators around this area refuse to go there. And I'm like, okay, well, if you don't want, can you give me a reason why? And some of them have been to the property just to walk around, and they said they just don't feel safe there.
I got you.
I never really, until that creature at Black Mass, I never really felt like he was going to be attacked, but you always felt like something was watching you. And when you have no animal noises in any wooded area, that's your first sign that something's around.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yes, because when I was younger, like my son's age, young teenager, we would go to the mountains with the Boy Scouts, and they would drop us off, a week or 2 weeks at a time. We would camp out in the Cherokee Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains and everything. And looking at it now, it's like, with what's going on with the cryptids now, you probably couldn't leave my son up there for 2 weeks in the mountains camping out with his friends.
Yeah.
But so I know how to feel. I don't feel uncomfortable in the woods. I'm 39. I spent my whole childhood outside in the woods playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I plan on going back, and when I go back, I'm gonna record about all of it and upload it to Facebook. And probably do a live stream either on Facebook or TikTok, one of the two, whichever one I decide to do it. If TikTok's still around.
Yeah, maybe I ought to try to do a howl or a knock or something.
Yeah, and I have the perfect bats and stuff for the knocks. I do. I used to watch
Finding Bigfoot.
Expedition Bigfoot.
Expedition Bigfoot. That's another one that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that show.
Yeah.
I love it. But yeah, the Bigfoot theory it's been thrown around, that one, the Skinwalker one, and that's really the only two things that make sense is one of them two.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else. And I've done a lot of searching. Really Bigfoot, is the main thing in North Carolina, like big cryptid wise.
So, and you were saying that it really did, when it was moving, it didn't make any noise. Did it make any, like, vocalizations at all, or was it just stone quiet?
It was just stone quiet. There wasn't no noise. It's like it was kind of like it didn't know if I saw it, so it was going to stand there and be as silent as it could,
Okay.
and just it was just so odd. So I didn't hear nothing. There wasn't no audible noises. It was like it was just trying to intimidate you with just standing there.
And honestly, this is scary to think about too. I mean, Dogman, you know, because they've been reported with the glowing red eyes. That's about the height they get reported at. And when you said the black was blacker than the rest of the surroundings,
Yes.
a lot of descriptions I've heard more of Dogman than Bigfoot, but I also have heard it of Bigfoot, is that people will describe it as so black that it's like almost absorbing everything around it.
See, that would make sense. Yeah.
So,
And I thought about that for a while, only because on TV show These Woods Are Haunted, the TV show on Discovery
yeah, I
Plus.
love that show.
There's a couple that run into what they said was a werewolf down at the coast of North Carolina.
Yeah, I think I
And
remember
listening
that
to that
story.
description, comparing it to like Dogman sightings and
I
all,
think it's the same thing.
I think it's the exact same thing. I
Yeah,
think there's not. I think that's exactly the werewolf is a dog man. I think because the
100%. I
descriptions
agree,
are the same.
100,000%. It just, I don't know why they named it Dogman. Kind of, but then again, why they named Bigfoot Bigfoot? You know, I think
Yeah,
so.
true.
So I don't. They give them goofy names, but that don't make them any less scary. Because you think of Dogman, I want to think of a happy, like, hey, you know, but
But that's not at
not what you're
all.
running into. Because I've
Mm-mm,
gotten a few Dogman stories, and it's never a happy-go-lucky little creature. Um,
mm-mm.
it's usually something more evil and severe. Um, and so did it. And when you saw it, did it just instill fear in you, or and you were just like wanted to get out of there?
Yeah, I just wanted to get out. When I
Did you
saw that, like, I froze.
did you feel like any kind of like an evil or like a foreboding, or was it just being scared, which I understand?
I felt more like if I didn't get out of there in a safe manner, something bad was going to happen. Like
Yeah.
I had to get out of there as quickly as I could, but at the same time, I couldn't take my eyes off of it because I felt like as soon as I turned around, it was going to come out and get me.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to take my eyes off it either.
No,
No.
no. Like
Have
I
you?
said, I do plan on going back, so hopefully I can get
Well,
answers.
you gotta
Hopefully.
let me know what you find out when you go. So, have you ever ran into? I know they talk about orbs a lot. Have you ever ran into any like orb situations while you've been out?
I have, and the ones that I have run into are not like what you see on cameras, like people record, which
Yeah.
a lot of is like, dust. I've seen them like without a camera, like visibly
Mm-hmm.
myself. And usually I see them like outside, like in the wood area somewhere. I live in the city, so I don't really see a lot. But mine are usually like that I see personally are like always about like head level, like something's walking back and forth. So I feel like that is more like somebody's like maybe their spirit, like their essence, where you want to call it, like walking the same path they normally would. Now the ones like I see people catching on photos and everything, a lot of them I don't buy into too much, but then there's some you look at and you're like, yeah, dust don't move like that. It don't
Yeah.
go from left to right.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. But I think I got some pretty good. I got one real good picture of a full body apparition. I'll
Oh.
send you. Come from a slave plantation in Virginia.
Oh wow.
And
Anything you want to add to the podcast? If you send it to me, we can put it
yeah, I
in the
sure
show
will.
notes.
Because my sister was only me, my sister, and my niece, and she was outside taking pictures of the exterior while we was on taking a break one night at the plantation, and she got a picture of this white apparition like walking off the porch down the stairs. When I sent it to the owner the next day, talking with her, she sent me back pictures of the exact same figure in different locations around the property, and they call that the woman in white.
Oh wow.
She, her husband was taken away during the Civil War, and he never came back home. They found his body in 2018, somewhere in between Virginia and West Virginia in the mountains. They found an old wreckage site that had some great, and her husband was buried there. I'm like, this happened back in the 1800s that he left, and they just now found his body. So she's supposed to stay there, like just walk the property all the time. And my sister caught her on camera.
So is she after they found the body? They still spot her,
Yeah.
or
Mm-hmm.
okay?
She still walks. She still walks the property like she's doing the same thing, waiting on her husband. And see, this wasn't your regular slave plantation. Like the slaves here, they had their own houses on the property, and whatever they grew and made, they got to keep and sell.
Oh wow.
So these people were a lot different than what you would normally think of, like Myrtle's plantation or something. It wasn't that type of plantation, but they there's a lot of history at that location. Actually, the brothers from the Curse of Oak Island,
Yeah.
they're trying to get it set up because there's supposed to be um, gold buried on the property somewhere, and you had to get the permits to dig and everything. So it's been a process, but they're trying to come in there, and I think they're going to have Josh Gates there with them as well.
Oh,
They
cool.
want to try to find the treasure that's there. And me personally, I'm like, just leave the plantation alone.
Yeah.
Because it's a great little location. It's in a little historic town. You would never think of a plantation being in this town because it's just so small. And I'm trying, what else I might have to send you? I will shoot you over the video of the EVP recording from St. Albans.
Oh
Also,
yeah.
yes,
That would be
I'm
cool.
lucky I didn't lose it when I switched phones. I ended up keeping it. Thank goodness.
Did you lose any information on any of the equipment you lost in the tramping grounds, or you?
I had a voice recorder that was running about the whole time. So if I can't find that, I would lose about 8 hours of audio. I'm hoping the boy that went with me has my other camcorder because it was the
Oh
one that was
gosh.
recording the entire time.
Oh gosh. Don't that
Yes,
figure?
because when you go to even there, like people think just go to haunted locations like hospitals and stuff. That's when your batteries will get drained.
Yeah.
My battery in my little 4K ghost hunting camera from Ghost Stop USA had a full charge battery. I was out there for an hour and a half recording with it, and the battery died just like that. And them batteries last 12 to 14 hours on normal battery life, so it shouldn't have died that fast.
Yeah. No,
That's why I'm gonna invest in some extra cameras and stuff. And I did find my camcorder. It's ridiculous. The batteries for it, to buy one battery is like $15 for one battery. But I can buy the same battery in a 3-pack with the charger for it, the portable charger, for $25. I'm like, well, I know what I'm gonna buy.
yeah. Yeah.
Because it's so disheartening when your battery dies and you don't have one right on you to switch it out with.
Yeah. Well, I've been on Bigfoot investigations and stuff where you, I know personally, it wasn't my equipment, it was the guy I was with. He had all the cameras and everything. But as soon as we thought we saw something, like he's like, here, and I'd help him record, and I went to go record. This was right afterward because because we thought we saw something, and battery just dies. And he's like, well,
Yep.
I know. He's like, I got 3 more in the bag that are fully charged. And, and he was a professional guy on this stuff. He does.
Oh yeah.
And he goes in the bag, puts next one in, it's dead. Next one in, it's
Mm-hmm.
dead. He's like, I don't know what the hell just happened. And so I
That
get it. And that's frustrating. The cryptid
it's
effect.
so frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people that take extra batteries. I take extra batteries too, but it's like I'm like, well, damn! I take extra batteries. You put one right back in, and they're all of them's dead. You can't do nothing about
Yeah.
that.
See,
But
I can kind of see like maybe spirits being able to, because I believe they do draw energy from this world.
yes,
So I can see that more than like in a cryptid situation. Why would Bigfoot or Dogman or Chupacabra drain batteries? So
exactly.
and do you have any? I mean, I know what you saw. We don't know what it was, but do you have any like thought on whether Dogman or Bigfoot and these types are more flesh and blood, or do you think they're more spiritual, paranormal, or a mixture? Do you have any thoughts?
My thoughts have always been about like especially Bigfoot, Dogman, and Chupacabras. Those are the 3 that I've always believed were more flesh and blood than anything because there's so many sightings, and I mean, you even have people like shooting the animal and it running off. It's like you can't shoot something that's not flesh and blood, in my opinion. It don't happen.
Yeah,
Um, but definitely Bigfoot, Dogman, and Chupacabra, I really think are flesh and blood. I really do. Those 3. Now the one that's been popped up recently because a video popped up on my timeline and I had to share it was the Jersey Devil. That's another one that I'm looking into more now.
oh yeah. If you catch anything on that, I'd love to hear about the Jersey Devil.
Jersey Devil it's always piqued my interest. I mean, it's been reported, before America was even a country,
Yeah.
established country. So, and it's still going strong. I mean, it's like the Mothman. They still strong in West Virginia with it. So, the Jersey Devil will be my next one I'll look into. Everybody's like, well, why don't you go to the Pine Barrens in Jersey? And I'm like, yeah, I just don't know if I'm that dedicated right now to go to the Pine Barrens because
Yeah, Pine
that's a
Barrens is a
lot
scary
bigger than what my
place.
forest is down here.
Yeah, that's a scary place, man. You get lost in
Yeah,
that thing forever.
I'm just, but the Jersey Devils always piqued my interest too because like I said, all the encounters over hundreds of years, there's got to be something to it.
Yeah. So
Got to be.
do you have any thoughts on portals?
Hmm.
I'm starting to believe in them more and more. The more I hear from people, I think there's got to be something to it because some of these creatures seem to just disappear. And I know a lot of people in the flesh and blood Bigfoot world go all crazy when you talk like this, but people have seen things that I've actually heard of stories where they've seen them walk into a portal. So, but I've never had an experience myself with portals. I've interviewed people that have. And I didn't know if maybe
Yeah.
you had a thought.
Now, I had never thought much about it till the past couple of years when people really started bringing their stories forward about portals and everything. Um, I do believe Bigfoot, for instance. I don't, a lot of people think that he might be like a interdimensional. He goes back and forth between portals. That would kind of make sense because it can be there 1 second and something that big's gone just like that. Um,
And some of the
now,
areas that he pops up in are just really strange. Like
really
Arizona, the
strange.
middle of the desert. The hell's a
Yeah, it's
Bigfoot
like,
doing in the
how
middle
did
of the
you get?
desert?
I mean, that was probably when he started popping up in Arizona. That's when I saw like more people talking about the portal things, and I was like, let me go down this rabbit hole and see what people are saying. And somebody's page I got drawn to because she's on the Paranormal Caught on Camera, Susan Slaughter. She really has a lot of good videos on her social media about the portals and multiple dimensions. And it's like the way she talks about it, it makes perfect sense, especially like Bigfoot and like Dogman, for instance, because like you said, they're there, and then all of a sudden they're not, and they'll pop up in the weirdest places. Like we had never, like people say, no Skinwalker in North Carolina, for instance. We never had them encounters that I even thought it was a Skinwalker until the last 4 or 5 years. And but Bigfoot, that's the one I really started looking into the portals on, and I think there's something to it. I haven't had personal experience with it, but I think, I definitely think there's portals in the paranormal world, and that could be for anything from a spirit to like a flesh and blood creature, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel like that these days.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because I mean, I think a lot of the what do you want to say, stigmata about it is starting to go away to where it's not so crazy, because there's more and more people. It's happening more and more. So they don't deem us as crazy. I say us. I mean, honestly, I was a flesh and blood believer for the longest time until I started diving more into this. And then the more you hear from people, it's like, there's got to be something to it,
Yeah.
There's got to be.
I mean, there's too much evidence these days about stuff like that, and too many encounters that there's something to it.
Yeah.
And it's about time people stop looking at us in the field of any kind of paranormal, cryptids, whatever. We're not all crazy. There's some crazy ones out there,
Oh, yeah.
but we're not all crazy.
100%.
I mean, you'll be surprised. Even at my job, I work night shifts at my job, which my job has some stories in that building too. That's been caught on camera by the management's cameras, the one they have in there. But there's two boys. One moved up here from Florida, and the other one, he's an old country boy from out in the woods in North Carolina. And, you're just talking to them, and you kind of get the feeling like they have something, to tell you. Because I had my logo on the back of my car, my group's logo, and I wear my hoodie because during the wintertime, because it's fleece line, it has my group name on it. So we're outside one night, and both of them just start talking, and we sat there on break for almost an hour and a half, and all they did was tell me about experiences they've had and the boy from Florida had them down there, up here. I'm like, a lot of people will open up about it when they don't feel like they're going to be judged by somebody.
Yeah, 100%.
And me being, have my paranormal stuff on my car, I have T-shirts that I wear, hoodies, my hat on the wall. It's like they know they can say something. I'm definitely not going to judge them.
Yeah.
And there's more people that believe in it nowadays, I believe, because they know there's stuff you can't explain. No matter, there's always something you cannot explain.
Yeah. And one of the things I like that people say is, even if one story is true, then it's true. And
exactly,
thousands and thousands of people, I'd imagine at least one story is true.
At least one story is true, yes.
So,
I mean, even me, for instance, after my, I think it was after my devil stomping ground, might have been before the tramping grounds. My bed used to be on a different wall, and the door was right beside my wife's side of the bed. So I worked first shift at this time, so I was in bed earlier at night. I was laying in bed, and like you just lay in bed and get comfortable. You're definitely not asleep. You're not dozing off. Because I was listening to my horror podcast that I listened to, and I heard my door open. Didn't think nothing about it. I felt somebody sitting on the edge of my bed to the point where the bed went down with the pressure.
yeah.
So I'm thinking my wife's getting in bed. Then I feel it get up, don't hear no footsteps or anything, and then it's gone. So I cut my lamp on right here, and I look over. You can see where the bed, like somebody sat down on the bed. And I'm thinking, okay, my son coming here messing with me because he has a good habit of doing that, him and my daughter. And I go out, son's asleep, daughter's asleep, my wife's in the recliner. I said, was somebody just in the bedroom? She said, no, why? And I'm like, well, somebody sat on the edge of the bed. And when I come in here, about a minute later, you can still see the impression on we got memory foam.
Yeah.
You can still see the impression. And, but, stuff like that, I think happens to more people than what they realize. That, like, yeah, like sometimes you be sitting on the couch and you find the couch moves beside you like somebody's sitting on it. And a lot of people, even myself, having 3 dogs, you have animals, your first thought's always going to be the animal moved on the sofa
Mm-hmm.
or it moved on the bed. But when you're in the room with your with your door closed, your animal's not coming in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I have so much weird stuff that happens in my house. And everybody's like, well, why don't you do an investigation on your house? The number one rule I've always heard as an investigator, do not investigate your own home because it's liable to make the activity pick up. So I
Pick
just
up.
live
Yeah.
with it. Now, if it starts feeling, unfriendly and something bad, I'll deal with it. I have a friend that's a priest down in Asheboro who said he'll come over here and bless my home if I want him to. It's not to that point. It don't feel bad, so I'm not gonna mess with it.
Yeah. 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 Well, and I don't blame you for wanting to mess around in your house. You think possibly have you ever felt like something has attached itself to you and brought back? Is that the rock situation?
That it goes back to the rock in another instance that I'm sure you've heard this. Whenever you're investigating somewhere, when you leave, tell the spirits that they cannot come with you.
Yeah.
When we did the old hospital on College Hill, it was me. I think I had 6 or 7 other people with me. Um, Now, when you go to the old hospital, it's a little different. You meet the owners when you get there. They give you a walkthrough, and then they leave. So the building is yours, and when you leave the next morning, you have to let everybody out the front door in the lobby. You have to lock that door, and then I had to walk from the 4th floor all the way down to the basement, checking the windows and the doors to make sure everything was locked up. Go all the way through the where the operating rooms was, out 2 doors, and lock them behind you. Well, when you're running on an hour and 45 minutes of sleep, you're not in your right mind. So I'm walking through, talking to the spirits and everything, telling them bye. I did not make the point before I walked out to tell them they couldn't come with me. And that's when the stuff started happening in my home originally, was after the old hospital on
Oh
College Hill.
man.
And the first thing I was told by, I talked to the owners to this day. I'm good friends with them. They said, well, it sounded like you have an attachment. I said, yes. But it doesn't feel bad. So I guess I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that was my first mistake. I didn't tell them they couldn't come, which I always do.
Yeah.
But it's kind of overwhelming when you make sure 7 people have all their stuff out, nothing's left behind. You have to walk. You got to start at the 4th floor, walk all the way down, check every window, all the doors. I was like, I was just ready to go and forgot about it.
Yeah.
Now, the rock from the Devil's Tramping Grounds, that was not a smart move at all.
Yeah.
But my daughter likes like the quartz looking rocks and everything, and it was
Yeah.
just a nice, pretty rock, which was odd because it was like super clean. There wasn't no dirt on it,
Huh.
and that's why it stood out to me. I was like, I want to take this to her, and it wasn't. I mean, it was probably a little bit smaller than the size of a baseball. It wasn't a small rock,
Yeah.
so I don't know how that rock just disappeared, but it did.
Huh.
Hopefully, I'll find it and take it back.
Well,
Hopefully.
I hope you find it too, man, because I don't want it to bring any ill will on you because I want you to come back on and tell us some more good stories.
And you can guarantee, especially after my Indiana State Sanitarium trip here in March 19th is when I'm going.
Very cool.
So I'll be there 19th and the 15th. And I'm positive after that location, I'll have a lot more to tell you.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Well, now that we've talked and we got each other's numbers, we're going to stay in touch.
Absolutely.
So, man, it's been a great time talking to you, Bryan. Is there anything?
I've had a good time too.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to promote before we get off of here?
Just support on my Facebook group page for Central Hills Paranormal is all I can ask for.
Okay, so hey, I just want to say thanks a lot, Bryan, for being on here, and everybody out there in Cryptid Land,
Keep it creepy.
Yeah, out in the woods where the shadows creep, I'm trying to find the legend that the people keep. Bigfoot's the name, got a story to tell. Footprints in the mud, can't you hear the bell? Whispers in the night, can you feel that chill? Bigfoot on the run, he's a legend, keep it real. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride. Like I'm on a quest, searching for the homie, you know he's the best. Got my camera ready, heightened senses on blast. Snap a shot of Sasquatch, legend unsurpassed. Eyes in the dark, you can't catch what you can't see. King of the woods, living wild and free. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride.